celebrating 13 years of possibility. Pilot Flying J and Halloran Hilton Hill present Anything is Possible. Today's guest, Jeff Jacoby.
Welcome to another edition of Anything is Possible. I'm Halloran Hilton Hill. These are great stories about great people whose lives prove that anything is possible. And I want you to remember on a weekly basis, or whenever you watch this, you might be watching on television or on your computer or on your iPhone, that possibility is possible. That as you hear these stories of possibility, it should ignite or reignite your story of possibility. Possibility is the star of the show. But the guy holding the spotlight today is my dear friend, Jeff Jacoby. I like to call you a brother.
You're my brother, no doubt about it.
Our worlds were literally thrown together.
Thrown together.
Literally thrown together.
Yeah.
It's great to have you here.
At 6 o'clock in the morning.
At 6 o'clock in the morning. You know, before we started taping today, you said, I'm trying to figure out why I'm here.
Yeah, I'm just a regular guy, you know, just like all the other people that sit in this chair.
You're here for two reasons.
All right.
One is because I love you and I want to look you in the eye and tell you that.
All right.
And because you inspire me.
Well, thank you.
And that's why I wanted you here, because you are my true friend.
And you are mine.
Yeah.
And we've got a lot of history together.
A lot of history. Let's get started. Cincinnati, Ohio.
Yep, I'm a dang Yankee.
The Ohio State University.
It was my life for the
Yeah.
first 18 years of my life.
Your father played at The Ohio State University, and you shared a tight bond with your mom and your dad. But let's start by talking about your dad.
Oh, gosh. Dad was one of Woody's first players at Ohio State University, Woody Hayes, the great coach that was there for many, many years. Played on his first three teams, was captain of his third team, two-time All-Big Ten. Sixth-round draft pick by the New York Giants back when there was only 8 teams, which means he was a top 50 pick, as he'd be second round today.
Right.
And I'd have a lot more money. But, you know, Dad was always Ohio State all the way. I grew up in the Horseshoe on Saturdays, watching football, loving what he did and proud of what he did. Played in the East-West game, the Senior Bowl, the old college all-star game against the pros. He used to wear his jerseys out in the side yard and use the football he won when he was the player of the game in the Pitt game, I think his sophomore year. And you know, it was just a big part of my life.
You know what I came to understand just from working with you, being around you, meeting your mother and your father.
Yeah.
I realized that football really was the connective tissue for that relationship, because it meant you guys were spending time together.
Yeah, and it was all sports. I mean, I played basketball, I played baseball. He coached my basketball team, he coached my baseball team. You know, Mom was right there with us too. When I went to Tennessee Tech and played myself, I mean, they followed me. I played in 41 of the 44 games we played over the 4 years, and they saw 39 of the 41.
Wow. So sports was and is relationship.
It is.
That's what it is.
Oh, without question.
So you aspired, though, to play at the Ohio State University.
I did, and was being recruited by about 50 schools, including Ohio State. My junior year, in the second game of the season, I suffered a severely broken right leg. I was out on a pass pattern. One of my own teammates was not running the right route, dove for the ball intended for me, hit me in the shin, and put me in a cast for over 6 months. It was a really bad break, and actually led to one of the really kind of cool stories, because of that break, Ohio State quit recruiting me. I mean, it was such a bad break, they didn't know if I was going to be able to play in college at all. And we went to the Ohio State game at homecoming like we always did, and spent the night because Dad had the captain's breakfast. He was captain of the 53 team, and all the captains meet every homecoming and have this very special outing that they have. It was a breakfast at that time. They've done some different things. But when we went back from that and picked him up, we went to the complex, and Woody Hayes walked in, and he goes, "Jeff, come on back to the office." I'm like, I'm a junior in high school, and this is Woody Hayes asking me back to his office, and said, "George, my dad, you just stay here. This is me and Jeff." And he took me back there, and he told me, he said, I just want you to know we can't recruit you anymore, and I want you to know why. And he went through the whole thing about the competitiveness, and you can't take a risk. And he said, but that's no reason you can't play football in college. That's no reason you shouldn't come back your senior year, and there's no reason you can't play at maybe a smaller school and get a free education. And I took that to heart and came back and played my senior year, even though my orthopedic doctor told me I couldn't. And I went on to play at Tennessee Tech. The end of this story is about 7 years later, after Woody had hit the guy from Clemson and had been out of work, and there was a reception at St. John Arena after one of the Michigan State game we went to. And we waited an hour in line to see Woody. And I hadn't seen him in like 10 years or more. And he looked at me and called me by name and said, Jeff, how in the world did the leg ever turn out?
Wow, that he would remember
that. That he would remember that 10 years later after all that he'd been through. And that's the kind of guy Woody Hayes was. Never forgot a name, and he never forgot you. I mean, you were a very personable guy to him. I mean, and he goes down as one of the villains for hitting the Clemson player. A lot of people don't realize he was in a diabetic shock coma, almost kind of a deal. He was a diabetic and hadn't eaten, and it was a hot night. He didn't remember doing it afterwards, but he owned up to it, and he lost his job. But the good things that man did over the years, he was the kids he visited after practice at hospitals and things, is amazing.
And you were one of the people he remembered.
And I was one of the people that he touched.
You're watching Anything is Possible. My guest is Jeff Jacoby. Back with more in a moment.
Possibility powered by Pilot Flying J, Covenant Health, Home Federal, and the Knoxville News Sentinel. Coming up.
And then I think of kids at St. Jude. I think of kids here in Knoxville that got on a school bus a few months ago. Never came home. And I'm gonna be mad after 60 years, and I'm not done, don't get me wrong. But if it ended today, I had no regrets.
Welcome back to Anything is Possible. Today's story of possibility is my friend and brother Jeff Jacoby. So here's what struck me about you is that optimism. Every time, we've been there a long time. We've been through a lot together. We've been through a lot of change together in the last 15 years.
Sure.
And every time they throw something in your lap, especially if they go, you can't do this, you won't get this done, you and Sherry go, watch.
Yeah, and we're a team. You mentioned Sherry, and that's my wife.
Yeah.
It's my soulmate, my best friend.
Yeah.
Somebody who I brought into the radio business about 10 years ago.
And she's dang, is she good.
And she is good.
She's really good.
And we complement each other. I do a lot more of the creative stuff. She keeps the books, thank goodness, because I'm not very organized. If you look at our desk, which sit right next to each other, mine looks like a cyclone. Hers look like you can eat off of it.
Right.
And that's been a great partnership. And I don't know what I'd do without her, especially today with some of the things that we're going through right now.
Which brings us to this moment.
Yeah.
You've had a lot of stuff thrown at you. I've watched it. We've changed frequencies, we've changed jobs, we've changed a lot of stuff. A few years back, we started, every time we see each other, we give each other a big hug or a big handshake. Just the camaraderie between us started to grow.
Yeah.
I had no idea that what was going to be thrown at you next would be what's been thrown at you, which is cancer.
Yeah. The C word.
When
one
did you
that
find
nobody
out?
ever wants to hear.
When did you find out? What did you find out? What kind of cancer is it?
I found out, I started feeling bad in the fall and had some things that had gone on that led me to believe it was stress related. That's what the doctor thought. We treated it that way for about 2 months. Weren't getting anywhere. Sherry says, we're not going anywhere here. We got to get some answers. Dr. Burkhart, my family physician, said the same thing on the next visit where I was getting ready to tell him we're going to find out what's going on. I went to GI Associates. Dr. Chebanian's been a great friend of mine for a long time. My mother is a colon cancer survivor, so I've been having screenings for a while. And we went ahead and did my colonoscopy, did an endoscopy, and he looked at me and he goes, you're healthy as a horse. He said, I don't think there's anything, but I'm a worry wart. He said, let's do a CT scan. And the CT scan showed pancreatic cancer. They called me back the day after and said, you need to come back for another scan. We found something in the pancreas area. And my heart sunk. It was cancer. So since that was right around the middle of November, I had my first chemo treatment Thanksgiving Monday of that week, and we've been going ever since.
So what's been amazing to me has been your attitude.
I decided right off the bat, I said, God's got something in this. He has a reason for everything. And with some help of some people like yourself with very strong spiritual backgrounds, and I'm a spiritual guy. I'm not the best churchgoer there ever was, but I talk to him every day. And I laid it at his feet. I said, man, you're driving the bus. Where are we going? And I decided right then I was going to try to, as my wife and I call it, live the new normal. We're going to try to do everything that we did before. We're going to try to plan our lives and live our lives just like we would before. But we got a few things we got to deal with, and friends have to understand sometimes I'm not going to feel good. But I'm proud of the fact that I've kept working.
We're at work. I heard about your diagnosis. We're going along, and I'm like, this guy just heard he got pancreatic cancer, right? You're coming to work. You're walking down the hallway.
Unless Mickey won't let me. In the first week, he said, the first week, I don't want you here. I want you to see what it's going to do, and then we'll decide.
Right? And
so I never missed a day.
I see you down the hallway, and you're like, hey. I mean, you're looking in just to say, hey. So every time we see each other now, we give each other these big hugs, right? So I go to hug you one day, and I hug you, and I'm about to squeeze you up in a bear hug, and you go, whoa, whoa, easy, easy. You sit my port, And I looked down, and I had no idea, because I thought you were just wearing a fanny pack because you're old.
Yeah, which I am.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Which I would never wear.
Right. You would never wear a fanny pack.
It took 5 treatments for me to wear it around my waist instead of carrying it, yeah.
So I see this, and then you said, well, my port. I heard you say port, but then I saw you walk away, and it dawned on me that you were doing a chemo treatment at work.
Yeah.
With a smile on your face.
Yeah. Happy to be there. Like I said, I get 4 hours of chemo on Monday, and then they put a pump on you that continues the process for the next 42 hours. I give it back on Wednesday afternoon. Then I have 11 days off. It's a 2-week cycle. And so on treatment weeks, on Tuesday and Wednesday morning, while I'm doing the show, I'm pumping. I've got nausea medicine. It's not the perfect scenario, but I got 2 choices. I said, I can be home, laying in bed, feeling miserable, or I can be doing what I love and helping my team and doing what I do, and it takes your mind off it to a point, Hal. And people look at me all the time like you, and they say, aren't you mad? Aren't you just mad? And I go, how can I be mad? I'm 60 years old. I've lived a life that many people would absolutely die for. I've met more people, more great sports people. I've seen national championship games, 3 of them. I've been to Final Fours for the Lady Vols and seen them hoist the trophy twice. And then I think of kids at St. Jude. I think of kids here in Knoxville that got on a school bus a few months ago, never came home. And I'm going to be mad after 60 years? And I'm not done, don't get me wrong. But if it ended today, I have no regrets. And that's the way I've chosen to do this. I've been very public on Facebook. I've met so many amazing people doing exactly what I'm doing. I've met people at my chemo treatments that have passed since I met them. And their families reach out to me and say, you have no idea what it meant that you took time to talk to Joe or Harry or, whoever. I said, man, we're in this thing, this is like a fraternity.
This is my friend and brother, Jeff Jacoby. You're watching Anything is Possible because it is.
Coming up.
And like I said, I've got no quit in me. I'm fighting like the Dickens right now. And whether I win or whether I lose, it's a win.
This week, our Home Federal Bank Community Spotlight is on Shangri-La Therapeutic Academy of Writing, or STAR.
Star pairs children and adults with disabilities with horses to help the riders experience personal achievement. To learn more or see how you can get involved, visit rideatstar.org. Welcome back to Anything is Possible. My guest is Jeff Jacoby. Jeff has pancreatic cancer, but the cancer doesn't have him. Make no doubt about that. So you have your 60th birthday at the Sun Sphere. You send out an invitation. Don't bring me any gifts. I want you to bring me money. I don't want you to bring me money for me. Our friend and brother Dave Folk has cancer, or now is cancer-free.
That's cancer-free. That's
surgery.
awesome. That's a celebration.
But you wanted to use your birthday, and you're smack dab in the middle of pancreatic cancer, to raise money for Dave Folk, not for yourself. And I'm thinking to myself, what's going on with Jeff? I mean, it's a glorious and beautiful thing. But when I came to your house to bring you that envelope from those guys out at Grace Baptist, because they wanted to give to your birthday party, which you're going to turn over and give to Dave, and I see your beautiful little granddaughters, and they're running around the house, and the house is just full of light and love and energy, and you're talking about getting the pool ready, and thinking,
it's the new normal.
You're giving, but I'm saying you're giving. I'm saying, Jeff, you're living.
My parents
We stood there and cried together. You're giving. You're not giving up. You're giving.
Yeah.
What?
And that's part of what I said. I've laid it at God's hands. I've said, you drive the bus and take us where we're going. I mean, I got involved. I've been involved for 3 years with Game On Against Cancer. Obviously, it became a little more personal to me this year, and I dug in, and we went from $47,000 to $70,000, and a lot of that I contribute to, to my great friends and great advertising partners that I've worked with for 30 years in this market. Nobody said no. Everybody said, "What can I do to help?" Former Vols sending jerseys they autographed. Todd Helton and the Colquitt brothers and Chase Headley. Johnny Majors, Philip Fulmer. Philip Fulmer gave me a Marshall Falk autographed helmet. He had no idea. He said, I bought this at an auction. It's been in my trunk. He said, you want this? I said, sure. I didn't even know who the name was. We figured it out. It's a Hall of Famer. But Philip was great. I mean, everybody's reached out and tried to help. Had a neighbor across the street that anonymously donated $5,000 to the cause because he said, I've just watched you. And that means a lot. That's not that I'm looking for credit, but if I can help anybody, one person, through all this, then it's worth it. And like I said, I've got no quit in me. I mean, I'm fighting like the dickens right now. And whether I win or whether I lose, it's a win. I mean, because I'm going to live every day the best I can with all the joy, wonder, and enthusiasm I can muster, to quote a friend of mine who says it every morning.
What's your prognosis?
Howard, it's not a done deal or anything. I've got a chance. It's pancreatic cancer is a booger. I mean, it is. And what we're doing right now is the chemo to shrink it. It's close to some arteries and veins and things that make surgery difficult. That's why we're trying to make it smaller. And hopefully we get from there to radiation, make it a little smaller yet, and then go do the Whipple procedure and get it the heck out of there. And that's the goal. We're trying to figure out, I'm working with Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore, who's got the foremost pancreatic cancer research team going, and there's some really revolutionary treatments out there that we're having some insurance problems with right now. They have a real problem with that kind of stuff. But, that's another story for another day. But the bottom line is, we got a great attitude. We got a shot. And like I said, I'm putting my faith in the man. And I'm not worried about that right now. I'm worried about what else we're going to get done. And, we're going to hopefully win some football games this fall. I told the guy that sat next to me for years from West Tennessee, then when I left, I said, I'll see you next year. And I walked out the turnstile. This was just weeks after I'd found out. And then I walked back in and I said, and I mean that. And he goes, I'm taking you to that. It's a new normal. But my wife and I are living every day just for the day.
You know what, as we wrap up, I'm just going back to the ball field and your dad And I'm thinking about your grandson and how you take him to and your grandkids. I mean, how you're still kind of living in that relationship circle around sports. And
it's an amazing story. I don't know how much time we've got, but my son, when I got diagnosed, was playing golf, and I called him on the phone. He just hit a drive right down the middle of the fairway, and he hit a Titleist 3. And I talked to him. His buddies hit in the rough in the woods, and there was one ball in the fairway. And when they drove down there, my dad's number at Ohio State was 73. And as sure as I'm sitting here, he looks at the ball laying in the fairway. The only ball they ever found, right in the middle of the fairway where he hit it, was a Titleist Pro V 73. There's no way to explain it except that as my dad sending me a message, and I know he was.
And what was that message?
The message was, it's going to be okay. I'm with you, right on your shoulder. Went home that night. My wife pulls up her computer, and she's got a Lightroom up with a bunch of IVK pictures, and the picture that should be the one she's working on is a photo of my father looking right at me. That's just moments after this other happened. And I'm like, twice in 24 hours. And he was looking right at me. And it was a picture in her computer that we had used in his funeral 18 months ago and in the slideshow. Had no reason to be up in that particular album because it wasn't in that album, but it was there.
Remember, he's a team captain.
He was, and he's still in charge.
And his star players in the game.
And I know he's sitting right there, and you know, it's all going to be good. And we're going to make the most of every single day, just like you say, every morning.
Well, so why are you here? Because you're my brother and my friend, and because you inspire me, and you are proof positive that anything is possible. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Hal.